Hi, I'm Katie, and this is the Free Art and Design School podcast, web series, whatever. I have another amazing guest here if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi. Oh no, introducing myself. Hello, my name is Christina. I'm a printmaker and writer, I guess, living in Berkeley, California.
Woo! We got to meet through Max's Garage and the general sort of print community of the Bay Area. I've always really admired your work. It's so colorful, so fun, so personal, but also relatable. I was wondering if you could talk about how you got into printmaking because it's such a niche kind of community and field.
Honestly, my path to printmaking is like really just like a bunch of lucky circumstances. My friend Patrick Perkins, who is an awesome designer, we were working at the same company, and he was like, "Hey, you ever heard of risograph printing? I think you would like it." And I was like, "No, tell me more." And he showed me like a product he worked on. I was like, "This seems dope." And I just happened to be so blessed to live not crazy far from Max Garage Press, which is an extremely great studio. It's really accessible. The prices are pretty low. The community is awesome. And they have two risograph machines, 12 colors. And I just kind of went ham after that. I thought it was very fun, so I kept doing it. There's a bee in my house.
Oh no.
It's okay. I will do my best to not let it distract me.
Oh my God. But you like bees, so maybe it's
I
okay.
love bees. I kind of prefer them outside,
Yeah.
but I respect them, their right to be wherever they want to be.
Okay. Um, if we need to pause, that's also fine. The
It
podcast is not worth your personal danger.
it genuinely just flew out, so I'm good. I'm good.
Amazing. Maybe we can talk a little bit because you're not just a risograph printer. You've made your own zines, like you said, you're a writer. I've seen you done other kinds of carving and printing and zine making. Um, what sort of is your drive behind the different projects you do? Because you have so many balls in the air at the same time all the time.
Yeah, well, so visual art is very new for me. I didn't do it with any kind of seriousness until 2020.
Wow.
It was very much a pandemic project. I was like, wow, I could be depressed, and sit in my house, or I could be depressed and sit in my house and make some fun pictures. So I kind of picked that option. But for a very long time, I've been a writer. I majored in creative writing. Like writing was always a thing that I really wanted to do. And when I left school, I realized like kind of the way you become a writer is you submit, as far as I can tell. I'm sure there's like actual working writers who will like roll their eyes and tell me I got it wrong. But as far as I could tell, what you did was you wrote 5,000 word short stories and submitted it to like these little literary journals, like that were only read by other young hopefuls trying to break into the writing scene of whatever city or whatever country you were in. And I was really not trying to write 5,000 word short stories anymore. Like there was something about that form that wasn't like driving with me. Um, and I, I don't know, I like comics. So I started writing those. The first one I wrote was the zine about how I can't come during sex. It's called I Can't Come, parentheses, it's fine. And I always just had like a thing to say about it. It was like a drama I carried with me throughout like my entire, sexual life. And I like oscillated between being like, I think this is common, and surely I'm the only person in the world that's ever experienced such a monstrosity as not being able to fucking bust a nut while you're getting raw dogged. There's probably a polite way for me to have said that, but yeah, I just wanted to write about it. And I printed it, and I it was it was first a 3-color zine, and there was something really powerful about being like, here's my dumb little story about my stupid little life, and now I've like put it on a piece of paper, and now I can hand it to people so they can like understand me a little bit better, or maybe relate to that experience. And like for the first time I could actually connect with people through writing in a way that I actually was not really able to do while I was in the creative writing program or doing
Mm.
other work I had done before.
That's really powerful. Ironically, I literally just had an interview with someone who's a tattoo artist who does sexual, erotic tattoos, and was talking about how comics led her to sort of like do her work, and how representation and connection and community are important to her. So we're just on a tear of, shaking up the industry and, doing things right. Um, how do you overcome sort of social stigma and taboos when you make work like that? Because it's certainly not easy, but you seem to have a lot of confidence. And maybe that was a hurdle that you had to come over at some point.
Uh, This is like, I don't know if this answer is going to make me sound douchey.
It's fine.
Um, I I really like I think I'm just saying like a thing that's like true for me. And I'm not saying that people who like don't like who would feel like embarrassed or shameful about talking about these kinds of things don't feel this way. I'm just gonna caveat with that. But I really like who I am, and I
Mhm.
don't feel a lot of shame like about anything I've done. Like I feel like I've always tried to do like the best by like myself and the people around me, and like sometimes I flub up, but I do try to have like the best intentions. So I'm just not ashamed of any of the things that are in here. Like I'm
Mm.
not ashamed of the fact that I can't come during sex. I'm not ashamed that I was sexually assaulted. I'm not ashamed that I went to Japan. That's not a thing that people are shameful of. That is my latest zine. It's just a travel zine about going to Japan. Um, yeah, I that seems like such a trite answer.
But I
I
don't
have
think it
confidence in
is.
myself, so I don't care if people know things about me. But that is kind of how I feel. It's not something that's ever really embarrassed me, or it
I,
hasn't in the last couple years. I'm sure when I was, earlier and like newer and figuring myself out, I was very insecure back then. But now I'm like, okay, I like who I am and I like what I'm doing. Other people can know what it is.
mhm. I think that's admirable. I don't think that's douchey. I think everyone should sort of strive to love themselves and have that confidence to make work that also makes other people feel seen, and like to be able to share stories like you do. Um, but that does explain a lot, and also explains a lot about your work, and the stories that you're willing to share. I actually really wanted to talk to you about like I came up from a philosophy background, and similar to you, I sort of didn't want to stick around just like publishing academic articles because I felt they wouldn't change the world. And then I was
Mhm.
like, maybe I could be a visual artist and tell stories that way. I'm sort of wondering how you think making visual art kind of allows you to connect more to people than just your writing did, because it seems like that's the path that you've sort of forged for yourself, is the storyteller and community connector.
Yeah, well, okay. I remember I had a creative writing teacher that talked about how jealous she was of musicians because
Mm,
musicians can really grip you with an emotion and they only need 3 minutes, right? And if you want to like connect with someone with writing, they have to commit to reading whatever, a 10-page short story, a novel. And there's something like really beautiful about like, having that relationship with your reader and knowing that they have like trusted you with their time. But there is kind of like a bit of a barrier to entry there. um I think drawing these like little comic styles, and I will say I think like my when I look at my zines, I think they are like, sometimes I feel like instead of a comic they're more of like an illustrated short story.
yeah.
I have this like, if you read a lot of them, they always have this like line of copy at the top. And then they have an image. And I always feel like that line is the story I'm trying to tell, but the image is like justifying that line or explaining that line or expanding on that line in a way. It's almost like an aside. You could ignore the picture entirely and just read the top. Um, but I really like the picture. The picture is there to like make it engaging and fun. And I think it convey, not to be a cliche, but like a picture can is whatever, a picture is worth 1,000 words.
Yeah.
Um, so I really like that. The other thing is like honestly, I think I don't have a lot of novels in me, you know?
Mhm.
I don't have like 10,000 words to or 100,000 words to say about a lot of things. But I do have 25 pages to say about a lot of things that are important to me. So there's something about it being smaller and it being more expressive and having like more ability to try more things that I really like. And I
That
would,
also definitely makes it more accessible also, which I think is really nice. Like the zine community, I mean, we don't have time to unpack the history of zines and everything, but like having a short form, visual, beautiful object is arguably one of the best ways to convey a message or a story to someone and have it like land. And your work absolutely does that, which I am in awe of. I actually literally can't believe that you weren't making art before 3 years ago. That seems sort of insane to me. Like you don't have any history of drawing or painting?
oh, I mean, I totally like, I doodled in sketchbooks and everything, but I didn't take like a class. I didn't spend any particular time with it. It was always just like, oh, I'm like in a math class and I would rather kill myself than pay attention. So I'm just going to draw eyeballs on the sides of like, on the sides of my piece of paper. Or
Wow.
like, I'll like bring a sketchbook and like, I'll doodle like the noses in the auditorium while I'm listening to my teacher like lecture us about the economic origins of monogamy or whatever it was I was doing. So I'm not saying I like never took a pencil and like laid it down on paper.
Yeah.
But it wasn't anything that I did with any kind of seriousness or
That's
particularly often. I think I drew like once in college. I remember this because I took a picture of it. I sent it to my boyfriend at the time. I was like, look, I can kind of draw. And he didn't like, he didn't respond. And I was,
uh
oh, he's doing that thing where he has nothing nice to say, so he's not saying anything, huh?
wow.
Um, yeah, he was he a little bit sucked, but um that's okay.
That's part of the journey of an artist is dating people who suck and then making art about it. Um, so you went to Japan, you just made an art zine about your Japanese travels. I'm sort of wondering, is there a theme or a pattern with the things that have inspired you to make zines, or do you just get an idea and we were talking earlier that you're like, I need to finish the idea before the energy runs out. Like, what are sort of some of your inspirations that lead you to make the work that you do?
Okay. A visual zine I'm making right now, which is, no words, just pictures. I'm laying out it's like just in like a little astrology zine, and I've like all of the water signs are like tins of fish, and all of the fire signs are like little matchbooks, and all of the air signs are going to be like carbonated beverages, and all of the earth signs are going to be something else that's food packaging. And I was just like, damn, I fucking love drawing squares with stuff on them. How do I do more of that?
Oh my God.
um so I think like for some of like my prints and those kinds of zines, they kind of just like come to me. I'm just like, this would be fun. I might have just been like on Pinterest and I saw a matchbook and I was like, matchbooks have very cool art. And then I kind of like spiraled from there and I was like, what if I made 12 of loosely related things?
Wow.
Um, in terms of my zines, I feel like I end up wanting to write zines about like a lot of my zines are like they're very personal. They're about my emotions. Um, and I think it's just like when I find myself getting upset about something a lot, or like I'm experiencing like the same emotions about something, whether that is joy or sadness or anger. I'm like, there's something here. And like, let's think about what that is. I have like very, very like intense emotions. I think like probably like on a bell curve, I'm like within the range of normal, just kind of like intense on one side. You could blame it on being a Cancer. I'm just
That was
like,
my next question was, does
yeah.
being a Cancer influence your work? But
I love crabs, so yes. But yeah, so I've always been super emotional, and I think the way that I've learned how to like fucking like be alive without like being insane every single day, but like how much I feel is to just be able to like accurately describe how I'm feeling to myself. And there's something about being able to like bind an emotion with words that makes it more easier to deal with and to handle. It stops feeling like as scary or as intense if you can kind of understand it. So I've always been used to like, I'm experiencing an emotion, like how can how can I most accurately and precisely convey it? I also had like Chinese parents that don't understand me, so I think some of it probably just comes from like, I would love to be understood by someone. I better like fucking figure out how to do that. Um, so the zine I'm working on right now, or there's a bunch of zines I'm working on right
Yeah.
now. The zine I'm working on right now is called, I think it's gonna be called Can You Just Tell Me I Have Nice Legs, Then Leave? Which is about like being hit on in ways that suck by dudes, where instead of objectifying me, they manic pixie dream girl me. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I would rather be a piece of meat than like your hypothetical savior.
Yeah.
So, and I think so many people have that experience. So I'm like, okay, and I want to talk about it.
Yeah, it's really cool that you're using printing as a method to convey these stories. I know that writing and printing have always been sort of personal ways for people to control at least a little bit of the means of production to get like a story out there or politics out there or whatever. But I think it's cool that you're kind of in this contemporary space where you're doing work like that. And also, sort of sounds like both therapy for you and the readers, like reading some stories like this and being like, oh shit, it's not just me. It's like this universal problem that people are dealing with. And like, I might not be able to solve it, but like, here you have a virtual friend who's like written this thing and made this thing for you. I think that's amazing and really beautiful.
I think some of like the most gratifying experiences I have with being like a person who makes art and puts it out in the world is when people come back to me and they go like, I experienced this thing, but I was never able to talk about it. Or I wanted to have this conversation with my partner. I didn't know how to, so I got him to read your zine. Or like, I really connected with your work and I sent it to my friends and they really liked it too. And we had like a productive discussion about our boundaries
Mhm.
as a result of this. Like, that shit fucking slaps. It's so good. It's really, I don't know, like so much. Mm, I don't know. It just like it feels really good. It feels really good to like be doing something that people not just like, but also like find helpful. I don't
Yeah.
know. That's nice.
Well, it's also kind of insane because like you are actually creating change through discourse, which I know is often like a sort of academic highfalutin way of saying like people are talking about your work and it's doing good things, but like it almost feels like traditionally the way that was done was through novels, like that's or short stories or movies. But you don't really hear about that a ton with like printmaking. I think printmaking often is it's certainly radical and like especially with like posters or like political like riot posters, that's the case, but combining the written word with like art in the way that you've done it is like it does feel really novel and special. And I'm wondering sort of, do you have a different sort of approach when you're making a zine that's like that versus when you're making like a print or a poster, because you also just have beautiful illustrated work that is less politically or ethically engaged. It's just like aesthetically really nice, maybe also with personal attachment.
Dude, I'm too Chinese to hear this many compliments about myself and my work. I'm gonna melt into my chair. It's
I wouldn't
I'm
have asked you to
dying.
be on here if I didn't like your work.
Oh, I
Hey,
appreciate
your work sucks. Talk about it for 40 minutes.
that. um yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate that. Would almost be easier. I would just fight you, but now I have to be like, oh no.
Well,
I
okay, no compliments. Do you approach zine making different
oh
from
yeah.
print making?
Um yeah, well, okay, so I feel like and this feel like it's a little cheesy, but I feel like illustrations, they come to me in a flash.
Yeah.
I'm just like I'm sitting down and like, and I'm not that whole like, are you like an auditory learner, visual learner, or blah 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 blah. I've always been more like of an like an audio person. Okay, when you read a book, this is related, I promise. When you read a book, do you hear a voice or do you see like a little movie in your head?
Both.
Both?
Yeah, depends on the scene.
That's fair. Do you like lean more one way or another? Or like,
When I was younger, like I remember reading a Goosebumps book in like fourth grade and being like, teacher, teacher, I can see the tomato monster in my head. And that's crazy. And the teacher was like, good for you, Katie, and like patted me on the head or whatever. And I was like, this is revolutionary. I can see things in my mind. But I think normally I'm just reading. But sometimes I'll have a flash like that. Which one are you? Is it flashes?
for me, it's all voices. Like I don't picture shit or dick. I am just like sitting there listening to people talk. Like even the descriptions, like I'm not picturing like the fine Scottish moor at dusk or
No,
whatever. I'm
that's
literally just
crazy.
like absorbing words. So I thought I was not a visual person at all. But when I come up with a print, it really just like I'm like in the shower and I'm like, oh shit. What if two lesbians in a tin of fish holding each other? Um, and then I like get out of the shower. I'm probably like still wet, the towels around me. Andrew's like, why are you getting water everywhere? And I'm like doodling like a little sketch in my little sketchbook. Like my Korean friend is like, you haven't put on moisturizer yet, your skin's gonna dry out. But I'm like, no, no, no. I gotta fucking I gotta get this shit done. Um,
You're amazing. And also, what an incredible person to have described their artistic practice on my podcast. Just like naked, dripping, must make art. Um, so it is, you do have this visual side, but it doesn't come from written inspiration. That's so interesting given that you're also a writer. So I guess just different parts of
yeah,
your brain are activated in different ways.
yeah, I think so. And when I'm writing, I feel like both of those things are working simultaneously. The words definitely come to me first, and then like as I'm writing the words, I'm like, oh, like this would be a cool way to like convey that. Um, and I'm often like, God, when I was in creative writing school, um, there was there were like two kind of like main ideas of like people of like different kinds of writers. There were architects and gardeners.
Mm.
Gardeners, they like lovingly tend to like the soil and the plants, and like this story like springs from it organically, and they like prune some branches here or there. But they have the trellises and lattices, and they like watch this beautiful thing like grow from the earth. And then there's architects that are like, all right, like I have a plan, like we're laying out these beams here, the bathroom goes here, like this is how this building is going to come together. um for me, I always felt like I was like almost like an excavator. Like I felt like I had like a little pickaxe in my hand, and like I had a story, and it was just like a weird rock like in a pit in the dirt, and I was just like trying to get to the end of it, and trying to figure out what it was. Like my process when I was doing fiction classes, this is like I would not recommend this for anyone who's in a fiction class, but I would write the stupidest first sentence I possibly could, just like a weird, intriguing sentence. And then I would spend the next 6 pages trying to justify that sentence.
Mm.
And I came up with like really weird shit doing that. Like, God, I remember writing like a short story about like an art thief named the King who like seduced the main character, and like somehow was able to like take pieces of art and like conceal them in like eggs that she would smuggle out of galleries, and she did all this in the service of like this giant crow that would like I don't know, it was weird, but like that's how I wrote. I used to just be like, I guess I'm fucking doing this. Like I felt like I was like I just have to fucking I just have to go. And sometimes like art's like the zine process is the same way. Like I'm coming up
Yeah.
with a story, and I'm also coming up with the visuals, and I'm just like drawing as fast as I can, and then like as I'm drawing I'm like, oh shit, that's I don't know, there's a vein of mineral here, like let's go this way, and like I don't know, it's a very chaotic process. I
It
just
sounds
kind of,
like it.
yeah, I just sit here and make bad decisions until something good comes out of it somehow anyways.
Which is a perfectly valid process and way of doing things. I do think it's interesting that you have all this chaotic energy and then your work is very precise. Like it's very, there's no sloppiness in your work. And maybe part of that is like well, I think there's sloppy Rizzo printers, but like me personally. But like I don't know, there's like a refinement to your work that I find really interesting. And also why I was surprised that you don't have a graphic design background, because your work is very kind of like clean line illustrations. Um, but I don't know, maybe you just developed your work that way. Is it, well, you said you were interested in comics. Like what are some of the other sort of visual interests that you have that maybe inspired your style? Like you
I
said food packaging, which is also
I
super cool.
I was gonna say I love food packaging. Um, I was thinking what you were saying about like of like my neatness. I feel like the clean lines simply come from the fact that if you hold the line in Procreate, it'll turn it into a straight line. I feel like that's like a big part of where my cleanness comes from. And I think I'm like a pretty precise, or like I'm not like the best risograph printer. I'm a pretty good risograph printer. And I attribute that to one, practice, and two, not filming reels for social media while I print. Um,
Oof. Stab me a little harder.
I no, I'm just saying because I tried doing that. I tried being like, oh, I'll do like a process video about like making like different prints from the same thing. And I looked at the registration. I'm like, this is all fucking shit. Like I am.
Thing.
Anyways, so visual inspiration. I uh I love the medium of print. I think, oh, of course, a printmaker is inspired by printing. Okay, all right, whatever. But I really am. Yes, yes. We both. This is a podcasts are an audio medium, but we are both gesturing to our walls that are just like covered in colorful risograph prints. Um,
It'll be on YouTube. They can see.
oh no! I should have worn cuter clothes.
No, you're fine.
Oh my god.
You've come
Well,
this far.
okay, well, since I'm here, I'm wearing a t-shirt printed by my friend Derek Popel. Um,
Wow, you're just gonna shame Derek's work and say it's not cute? How dare you?
I okay, it's cute from the tits down, but this is like a tits up kind of situation.
When I asked to interview him, I'm gonna specifically reference this moment and be like, you need to, you know, defend your
Hey,
artwork.
yeah, hey Derek, move your designs up so you can see them in while you're being interviewed. And you only have the first quarter. I don't know. Anyways, it's a good shirt. Um,
Maybe actually that's a great question. You're pretty solidly embedded in different communities in the Bay Area, like printers and organizers and artists. And maybe you can talk a little bit about the sort of communal element of printmaking, which I think is one of the main benefits of being a printmaker.
holy shit. It is so fucking good. It is so oh my God. I've been thinking about this a lot because okay, I went to high school in Palo Alto.
I'm
So
so sorry.
yeah, I went to the suicide high school as
Which
opposed to
one?
the
There's multiple.
I went to the main suicide high school. I went to Gunn.
Okay. I have a
Yeah.
lot of friends from Gunn and Pali. I went to Stanford, so
Oh, yeah. You know, yes. Right there. Oh my God, I didn't know you went to Stanford.
yeah,
Okay.
I have my little mug. But
Wow.
yeah, it
Uh,
explains a lot and also nothing about me, but that's another story.
I
Um,
completely understand. After this podcast, let's talk about College Avenue and the sandwich place I like, in case you've been there. But oh, oh yeah, yeah. So
community.
and I went to high school in Palo Alto, and I was part of the robotics team in high school. So I have a lot of friends in tech, and I love my tech friends. I think they're great, but I have noticed that I've like kind of like the older I've gotten, the more I've gotten into the art scene, like the more I'm like, oh shit, like I think these are actually my people. And it's just like these little things. And I am just gonna like broadly divide them into like my tech friends versus like my art friends. But just like I feel like a really big like the sense of community is just like really incredible. And the fact that everyone like looks out for each other. Like just even like little things like I have a friend, oh my God, I hope he doesn't hear this. Um, I have a friend who makes $400,000 a year, and he Venmo requested me $7.15 for a boba. Which like it's like fine, like he paid for me, like I'm happy to pay him back, but like that's just like not the relationship I have with like any of my art friends.
Yeah.
My art friends, I feel like we're always passing around the same $20 bill. Like we're always
Yep.
covering for each other, we're always giving each other supplies, we're always helping each other at markets. I just feel like artists really like care about each other and are really like willing to like step in for each other. Like whenever I'm doing like a craft fair, if I like run out of 8.5 by 11 like clear poly bags, like I have 3 friends being like, I have some, and I'll be like, can I pay you for them? And they're like, bitch, no. Yeah. And then like, and or like my friend Tamiko, she's the one that like helped me start doing craft fairs, and she's the one that like taught me what to do. Like she signed up for the fairs, and like she's like we shared a booth together, and like the fact that she's like a really like established artist probably meant that I can get into fairs that I might not have been able to get in otherwise. um
I'm also gonna ask to interview her. And I also just interviewed Whitney, so I feel like this is slowly becoming the Max podcast.
I honestly, excellent podcast idea. Everyone that goes to Max Garage Press is like a very, very awesome person. Um, yeah. I just like just the way that everyone's just like, I feel like uh I just feel like everyone is just like, oh, you're interested in this thing that I like to do. I want to help you. Like, let me show you how to do it. And you can always, I don't know. That's just so good. Well, that's like the artist. Like, I mean, I think there's also like that's like from the artist communities, and then I also like I feel like I'm in these like printmaking communities, and I'm also in these like vendor communities of like people who are like they go to craft fairs every weekend, and they're like their whole like their income is like their art. Like they've quit their corporate jobs, like they're just in it for the art now, baby. And like they're like a slightly separate but also like very much the same kind of community. Like I have a friend, her name is Faith. I love her. When I do a craft fair, she's like, yeah, so I'm helping you this day, right? And I'm like, she's not asking me if I need help. She's telling me she's going to come to this craft fair and help me so I can piss and shop. Like that is
Community, friendship, magic.
I'm listen. I'm a gay little Cancer. I'm gonna cry. I love my friends so much.
You're one of my favorite people to talk to, especially about these things, because like you have such wisdom on the like art side and technical side, and then also you have all these deep emotions and feelings and thoughts and sort of like political activist vibes. And I think it's sort of insane that like you just broke into the art community partially because you had all these friends and all this passion, and you just made it work. And I think that's sort of a story that a lot of artists need to hear is like, you know, there's so much pressure against being an artist, whether you have a full-time job that's in art or not. And being able to see someone like you who's like, I have a story to tell or several stories and I'm just gonna fucking do it is really inspiring, and certainly inspiring to me having seen your work and been in a show with you. It's you're very much someone to look up to. I told you I wasn't going to give any more compliments, and then I did, so I'm sorry. But when you recover, maybe you can tell me about like, I don't know, if you have sort of wisdom to younger folk who are trying to break into the art or vending communities, not logistical information. There's other articles about that, but sort of like personal information, if you had sort of advice.
I think I feel like I think I have like okay, I know what's worked for me. And I think what's worked for me is like I have I have ADHD, and like the way, and I've kind of like I've kind of weaponized it. I'm just like I am like if I have something I'm interested in, I'm just like I'm gonna fucking do it. I'm gonna fucking do it right now. And I'm gonna fucking do it right now, because if I wait too long, I'll stop being interested in it and then I won't do it. So I think like the advice of like put your whole pussy into it and like work hard if it's something that you find fun is like not very interesting advice. But I do think like that is how I've gotten to where I am. I just like I put a lot of like work. That's such a boring answer. I work hard.
Do the
I'm
work. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
no, not
I'm kidding.
that,
I'm
not
kidding. I'm
that.
kidding.
But like I guess it's like okay, maybe the actual like advice here is like find something that like really sparks like a light in you, like something that you really enjoy and something that like motivates you and brings you energy and just like makes you like feel like hell yeah. And like do the thing that makes you feel hell yeah. Um my other thing is like think you're the shit. Like do your best to think you're like just like the best. Um I don't like literally think I'm the best, but like if I'm putting something out there, I'm like, oh, like I like this idea. And I hope other people will too, but if they don't, like I still really like this idea.
Hmm.
Um, I think like I guess I think I have this belief that I think like everyone is really interesting. I
Yeah.
think like every single person I've met has been really interesting, except for like two people. And the fact that they're boring is actually kind of interesting. So like I think everyone's perspective um matters and like so have confidence in that. Like you have something to say, like go out and say it. I know that's maybe like a kind of like I think there's like a lot of conversations these days about like where you take up space and how much space should you take up depending on like where you are and like what rooms you're in. And you know, I don't have like a set of guidelines for that. But if like you have something that you like want to say, chances are someone else like feels the same way and like wants to would like to like connect with you about it. So like yeah, just fucking just do it. It's fine. It's cool.
Everyone's
Um,
entitled to their own Instagram page and zines that they want to make.
yeah, everyone can make your little I don't know, what do I have? Everyone can make a little zine about assholes, people who've been assholes to them. I'm sure everyone can make a zine about people who've been dicks to them, and every single one would be like so fucking interesting. That's the other
Yeah.
thing. I also love to gossip, so I'm also like, yeah, everyone is interesting. Everyone has like a little story to tell, and I want to hear it.
There's a bad dates Instagram. There's an illustrator Instagram that I follow, and they do a series of like bad dates that are illustrated. I'll try to find it and send it to you because it's like life changing. I was like, holy shit, this is great. We only have a minute left. So you just provided a ton of great wisdom and insights. Do you have maybe like a quick thing you would tell your younger self about art making?
Oh my God. What would I tell my younger self? I'd be like, bitch, you're gonna be fine. That's all I would say to her. I would just be like, chill. You'll figure it. Like, I don't know if it would even be about art. If I like spoke to my younger self, I would be like, I don't know. I spent like all of my youth being like, I like of just like um you know, I had like an undiagnosed like learning disability and
Right.
like I was, you know, like an immigrant child of Chinese parents and like I like could never and I'm like the it's like weird being like the black sheep of the family because I'm like I have like a 4-year college degree and a job with a 401k. But like I really like I am like I'm like the weird gay art one. Um